There's been a huge amount in the news recently about electric cars, and it seems like almost every manufacturer is rushing to bring them to market. There's just one problem with all these future models, of course. Most of them are still on the drawing board and years away from production reality. Most, that is, but not all, because this is the Mitsubishi MiEV, a production-ready, all-electric vehicle that we're driving today in London. And not just in London, because although the MiEV is designed for life in the city, we've decided to challenge it with an appropriate journey. We're going to take it to the largest wind farm in the south of England, which is near Lydd in Kent. And unfortunately, that's just slightly beyond the MiEV's maximum range. Now that means we're going to have to find out just how easy it is to recharge it en route. Now, as its name suggests, the MiEV is basically an electric version of Mitsubishi's i-City car. Instead of a petrol tank, it's got an 88-cell lithium-ion battery pack, which powers a 47 kilowatt motor on the rear axle. That's about 60 horsepower in the old money. But that's not really the headline figure, which is the fact it's got 133 pounds-feet of torque, and because it's electric, that's available from rest. Now the upshot is that the MiEV is supremely easy to drive in town. It's got very strong acceleration from about 0 to 30, and operating it is as simple as one pedal to stop and one pedal to go. Pretty much like a golf cart, in fact. Mitsubishi reckons that the MiEV can manage 80 miles on a fully charged battery, but that's in town. Unfortunately, when the weather's cold or when you go a bit quicker, the range comes down dramatically, which is why we're stopping in South London to top up the battery. Charging the MiEV is simplicity itself because it comes with its very own charging cable. Where you'd normally expect to find the fuel cap, you find this little dock, and you simply plug the cable in. It only goes on one way. Make sure it's secure, and at the other end of it, there is this, which you probably recognise as an ordinary plug, and it's as simple as finding something to plug it into. Now the downside is that from an ordinary UK domestic power supply, it's going to take 7 hours to fully recharge the battery. If Mitsubishi does bring the car into the UK, it's going to introduce a fast charger that can give 80% charge in just 20 minutes. In the meantime, all I need to do now is to find a socket. Fortunately, Autocar's Ed Kahan lives just off the route we're taking from London to Kent. Can I borrow a plug, mate?
Of course, come in.
Excellent, and you might as well put the kettle on because we're going to be a couple of hours. So we're in Kent, we're well on our way to the wind farm, and I have to report that perhaps unsurprisingly the MiEV does not feel particularly comfortable when it passes a de-restriction sign. Now I'm not criticising the car because it's not what it was designed for. It will get up to about 50 miles an hour quite happily, but if you want to go any quicker than that, then the battery charge meter starts to fall like the petrol gauge in a well-driven V8. One point about electric cars that deserves to be made is the fact although they're going to be quite expensive to buy, they should be incredibly cheap to run. According to Mitsubishi's figures, it costs 45 pence to fully recharge the MiEV at current electricity prices. That means that 10,000 miles will cost you about 50 quid. That's pretty amazing. Of course, there's one big problem with the environmental credentials of all electric cars. They're only as green as whatever's plugged into the other end of the recharging cord, which is why we're finishing our journey at Little Cheney Court, which is the biggest wind farm in the south of England. These turbines behind me are going to produce more than 60 megawatts of power. Now I know that they're going to need something to back them up for when the wind's not blowing, but between them and this car, we have at least the possibility of a motoring future that doesn't involve oil. And that should be enough to make us all think.